All right, welcome in, boys. We are Tuesday with, I don't know what that was. Tuesday night, Darlington, NASCAR outright show, Goodyear 400. Our guy Cooper is going through it, continues to go through it. Probably not going to be around much for the foreseeable future. He's dealing with a lot of stuff right now with the family. Meyer is here. We've got him. That's good. I mean, let's talk about you for a minute. Keg's going through it right now, right? But who's running more pure than you right now, Adam Meyer? Huh?
I couldn't identify the guy.
Who's
It's
running more pure right now?
you know what? It's kind of wild. Like the Hemrick thing is whatever, right? I mean, that was
At
pure luck.
25 to 1, Meyer got Hemrick on Saturday.
That was just purely a play at the number in the truck to find out if it was the truck. He had no business winning that, but
right,
when you got chaos in trucks, things happen.
right.
Saturday gave all my Hemrick money back, so I feel you.
Okay.
But we did get Johnny on a rando Dean Thompson top 10.
I forgot about the rando Dean Thompson. Get out of here. Get a life, dude. Dean Thompson top 10. God bless your heart. And then on Sunday, as I'm watching car after car get punted out of the top 10 when they've been running in the top 10 all day long, Adam Meyer gives out almost a 20 to 1 Todd Gilliland top 10. My guy ran in the top 10 18% of the race and finished 10th. Fucking somehow finished 10th. God bless your heart. And
He did. You know what? He passed Blaney to get to 9th, about 20 laps to go in the race. And I was like, oh, we're skating. Well, then Joey Logano on Freshies blows right by him with like 5 to go, and he finished dead nuts 10th.
Yeah.
So
Hey, man.
sometimes it's better to be lucky than it is to be good. That's all I'm going to say.
God bless you. What can you do? So yeah, I mean, just another absolutely brutal weekend for me. I still don't even know how much money I lost. I'll figure it out tomorrow. But it wasn't good. I basically punted about $30,000 worth of March profit back to the book and basically finished either even or down slightly. So it's just been a brutal couple weeks with the way we're finding ways to lose. But what can you do, man? This is the sport. This is what we deal with. Volatility is a real thing in this sport. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. And the last couple of weeks have been absolutely brutal.
Well, and we said live, right? It was like you're taking a stand in the middle of that race. We either were betting Blaney or we were betting Hamlin. That was
Right.
the stand we took, and obviously it went the way that it went.
It sucked because we knew he was good all day, and by the time we were like, maybe we should bet him, he was already down to 3 to 1. It's just so tough to get on those guys when you're in that spot, unless you're just going to use them as a hedge. And you can't even hedge the way you used to be able to hedge, because it's not like you could just go bet 3,000 on Denny at 3 to 1. Like, it's hard to do that now because you can barely get down. I mean, we're jumping through hoops trying to get down on these sports books just to get 1,000 down. So, I mean, 3,000 feels like a pipe dream right now.
Right. Do you think that Denny was out there because of clean air? Like, do you think if Chase starts on the front late in the stage that he would have done the same thing that Denny did, or do you think that Denny had the speed to go alongside that tire wear?
I feel like Denny. You're talking about like a late restart?
Yeah.
A late restart, anything could happen. Could Elliott have beat him? Maybe. But I think it was pretty clear by the end of the race that Denny had the best car in the race. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and I think he just did a really good job at managing the tire throughout that last run too, because like Bell got close on the restart, but I think it was just Denny managing the tire.
Yeah.
And that's why I wonder because Chase was starting to catch Bubba and Bell, but I don't think he would have been able to pass. Now, did you see the stats for, I guess, overall, how do you think that that race played out on the tire? Do you think that that was a good race? Do you think, because looking at Gluck, it's like a 50-50 split on people thought it was a good race or a bad race. Where do you land on the race scene?
I mean, it's always going to be a bad race to me when you can't make when quality cars can't make quality passes. Like
Mhm.
until they add a ton more horsepower, and to be honest, they could probably make that tire 20% softer, I think. Until those things happen, I just think this is where we are on short tracks right now. Unfortunately, it sucks, but this is where we're
Yeah,
at. A
and
lot of
that's where
follow
I
here.
was when I was watching that top 10 in the final run. I don't think anybody passed. Elliott got by Larson. That was
Right.
about the only pass inside the top 10, and then obviously Logano on fresher tires. But nobody moved positions in that final 80 lap, 70 lap run, or whatever it was. There was nobody like even Blaney, who, like, if you looked at the practice data, he had an elite car, started in 32nd, drove nowhere until he made that that pit road strategy call, right? Like, even good cars could not pass anybody. So, you know, I'm tired of seeing Goodyear get the bad rap for the tire. It's clearly bigger than the tire.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It's
They just
exactly
feel like
what
the scapegoat for NASCAR.
it's exactly what Kevin Harvick has been screaming about for 2.5 years. Just put more horsepower in the car and we're good to go. I don't
Mhm.
understand what the issue is. I mean,
Yeah.
people like he knows way better than people like you and I do.
Mhm. Yeah,
So,
when your two biggest like advocates in Denny and Harvick are telling you that these cars need 200 more horsepower,
right.
and NASCAR is trying to hold on to this dream of adding a manufacturer and thinking that the motors, are pricing this next manufacturer out is crazy.
Yeah,
I think
like
they know they made a bad car.
let's forget about Dodge for a minute and let's get Ford, Toyota, and Chevy humming first, man.
Right. I mean, they've killed the short tracks in general. I mean,
Killed
and
them.
we go to Bristol next week. I mean, we're going to do the same thing.
Yep. Killed them. It really all comes down to I mean, it really all comes down to pit road. Whoever gets
Mhm.
out first on pit road. I mean, like, did we we didn't see Denny drive to the lead, right?
That's what
He
I was gonna
got
say. I don't think I saw him pass Elliott for the lead. The only pass for the lead that I remember seeing
was
was
Elliott, right?
Elliott passed Bell in like that 35 lap run in stage one,
Right.
and
I
then
don't
we had that early caution, and that's what changed the entire field.
I don't remember seeing him pass for the lead either. So he must have got off pit road first at some point in that race. And then clean air matters a lot. Although clean air still confuses me on a short
On
track.
the short track.
Because once you get into traffic, where is the clean air? Yet the guy in first place just continues to run away sometimes.
Right.
I don't get it. Like I don't understand how that works. But I mean, yeah, we're in a bad place right now. We've been in a bad place with short tracks since 2022, but it's just not getting any better, man. And just watching these guys lead lap after lap when there's nothing you could do about it, it's just wild.
Right. And the way that the books are reacting to the leaders in the race now, it's like you blink and the guy out front, he could have been 18-1. He's going to be 3-1.
I think this is where I'm at. I think it's now put us in a spot where I don't think we could bet. I don't think we could bet NASCAR outrights on a short track at the very least before qualifying, and even to a lesser extent, probably past the midway point in the race. And if it means you're only going to bet one or two people and it means that you're going to make less money, that's just what it means instead of getting killed. Like, because I don't know how else to treat betting a short track.
I think you did a good job when attacking the prop market. I think we were more heavily invested in the props than the outright market. And I think that's kind of the way to go because there was still value on numbers after. Like the 3-1 on Chase for top Chevy. I'm sure his groups, the top fives. There's still some money to be made, not being so wrapped up in the outright.
I don't disagree. Logano had no business losing top Ford for us at 4-1. He had no business losing that. It's wild.
Still almost drove back and got us there. If we had 20 more laps.
Maybe not even 20 more laps. Maybe less than that. But yeah, it's so crazy that that's how it happened. Who bumped him? Was it Ross? Who sent him spinning?
Yeah, it was either Ross or he got tangled up with Ty Gibbs at some point. I don't know. I remember hearing everybody yelling.
It's just brutal. It's such a brutal way to lose when you did everything right and the car's been there all day long and then just one idiotic move and you're dead. Your bet's dead. Doesn't matter how good the look was. Doesn't matter if you made the right call. You're dead. And we've been on the bad end of some volatility the last couple of weeks. Some of us more than others. Okay.
In the top Ford market has been a nightmare.
A nightmare
for us.
I have actual nightmares about that blue oval in bet. I'm like, no.
Still want that Ford Raptor?
Not right now, Mar. Tell you that. Not right now.
So real quick before we jump off of this, so I do find it interesting. Denny hasn't been able to get this done in 10 years, right? Finally gets it done. But you know who's continued to struggle all year long? Doesn't matter the track, doesn't matter the format, doesn't matter anything. Is Ty Gibbs. And the one thing is Ty Gibbs lost his crew chief this year. That crew chief is now Denny's crew chief.
Right.
So I don't know if Chris Gale's like really, really good and him and Denny are working out some new stuff. And maybe that's why Ty Gibbs is just nowhere to be seen. But man, listening to Denny's podcast, like he sounds like he's a big fan of Chris Gale, and they tried some stuff. He said he ran some new stuff in the sim based off of how Marty set his car up, and he realized he had to drive a different style to get around here faster. I don't know. I think it worked for him. Obviously, it worked for him. He won, but I don't know if it's as simple as saying Ty Gibbs has been really bad without Chris Gale, and maybe Chris Gale is a net positive for Denny. I don't know.
I mean, Denny was pretty good with his old crew chief, but
right, and he got promoted on to doing something different. But Ty Gibbs was decent.
It could definitely be hurting Gibbs for sure. He's so young. Denny's 44. Right. You know, he's been doing this a long time.
Right, and I mean, Ty seems like he's kind of a head case. So when things are going bad, he might just be going. He might even be making it worse. But anyways, I was just wondering what your thoughts were on that, and maybe that's why Ty continues to struggle early.
I loved what I listened to some of Denny's podcast. I loved how he took the guys in Xfinity to task for being idiots. I mean, they're driving like morons, man. They just don't care. And it's costing me money.
I'm glad that he called them out by name and wasn't afraid to shame them publicly, right? Because Denny's podcast is pretty damn big. But the one thing that I didn't notice, just because of how disgusted we were in that race, was the Austin Hill drama.
I tweeted something out and then I deleted the tweet. But like that's what bothers me, bro. The guy that started it all on that last lap is the guy that benefited the most from it. He ended up winning the race. Nobody's got a thing to say about Austin Hill. I tweeted that out, and then I was like, am I remembering that right? Was that last week or the week before? It was last week, right?
Yeah, well, Sammy Smith is the one who really fucked up everything. But what Austin Hill did was just continue to drive through Allgaier, which spun everybody else around there. and he collected everybody but himself. And Sammy and Taylor Gray were done. They were going up the track. They were going to be like, Allgaier probably goes and wins, but Hill just hammers it through all of them, and then
Yep.
like a snowplow went right through them all. So yeah, Austin Hill, and he even wrecked his own teammate in that race. He took Jesse Love out. So
And
I mean, the guys, he was a problem.
he's done that more than a couple times too, man. He doesn't care
Mhm.
either. These kids just don't care.
And honestly, you can't feel any worse for Taylor Gray. He would have won that truck race last year if Eckes didn't boot him, and he got the exact same treatment this year with Sammy
Yep.
Smith. The kid would have walked away with the win. The only thing I don't like is like Sammy Smith, like Taylor Gray drove him and moved him up a groove. He let him. He raced him fair, I think. Sammy didn't race him fair on the way back. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you think 50 points is enough to to make people even second guess this? Because
Not
if he goes
really.
and wins next week, he's back
You're
in the
in.
playoffs. It don't matter.
Right. It don't matter anyway. No. I think penalties become a lot harder to care about with winning you're in. Like
Right.
what's the real unless you're going to make them sit a playoff race if they're already in the playoffs. I think that's the only real way to impact these guys, because clearly right now they don't care what NASCAR says, because it's the Wild West out there right now in Xfinity. It's crazy.
Oh, for sure. Like I like what Denny said. You have a black flag for a reason. Use it. Black flag these guys that are driving like morons, right? Like the series. Denny even said, he goes, the rules in the series get looser as you get more elite series. Like they black flag people all the time in the Cars Tour. Like there's rules against all that stuff. Because but once you start getting in better equipment, the rules just go out the window. And the thing that I dislike the most is that they find Taylor Gray for his infield activities. Like, if you want to promote drivers fighting other drivers, don't fine him then. Like,
what was that? Because he went into the care facility and started arguing.
I went after Sammy in the care
Right,
center. But
right.
I mean,
good for him. Yeah,
right.
Good for him. These guys will walk all over you. They'll walk all over you if you don't handle your business.
Right. I mean, like people aren't in a hurry to go do that shit to Joey Logano and Kyle Busch, right? If it's like you have a history and just don't ask them questions, just start throwing hands. People are a little more respectful.
It's like rubbing his racing is a real thing for sure, especially on a short track. But then there's just going too far, man. And if I kind of feel like I felt that way about Xfinity for the last couple years, but doesn't it just seem worse this year?
Oh yeah, it just feels like they're only fixated. Like if anybody's in that top 4 and they have that shot to get that win and you're in, there's no rules anymore. They're going to do whatever it takes.
They're sending it. Yeah, 100%.
There's just no respectful racing. And I honestly thought Taylor Gray did a really good job at being fair. He just bumped him up one groove and he didn't do any, like, he didn't send it in on him. He gave Sammy an opportunity to drive him for the lead. And Sammy lost two spots pretty much, and then just sent it in. It was his only way of doing it. Instead of just, and like, what do you think? Like, Sammy, he can't just take second place there, take the points, and just get out of there with a second place victory rather than a DNF? I mean, that's got to be worse. And he collected 2 other JGR or Junior Motorsports cars in that same wreck. Like, if you're Dale, how do you not say something?
Yeah, I don't disagree.
I mean, he caused hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars of damages to those cars, and he could have just got a second place victory or a second place finish. So, yeah, what a shit show in Xfinity.
Yep. Bad. And then, like, with trucks, I mean, how many times are we going to see one guy lead like 180 laps in the truck series at Martinsville? Again, I kind of feel like you just cannot bet these races until I don't know. It's getting harder, man. It's getting harder
Well,
to
the
make
first two
calls.
stages don't even matter, right? Because everybody's being respectful in the first two stages. They're just trying to make it to that third stage, and that's when you saw the 8 cautions fly in the Truck Series, and we ticked off 100 laps under caution.
And especially when you really only have to go down pit road one time. Like you don't even have that built-in factor to like help you get back into a race. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's just tough. We
Well,
got it.
especially and then when they come down, they don't even come down under green flag, right? So the pit stops are really just one pit stop under caution and away they
Right.
go. Like you're not making up spots on pit road in a truck. It's just
I mean,
on a
let's
short
be
track.
honest. Can you even remember the last time we had a green flag stop in trucks or Xfinity? I can't even remember.
Yeah, the stages are so short. I'd have to go back, but I don't. Not off the top of my head, I don't.
And there's so many cautions that it's just like a built-in excuse to come down for tires.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, and then with those
I
late
feel like
restarts, everybody drives like a jackass, which causes all those cautions late in the race, and then the races look terrible.
right. What did we have? 100 caution laps on Friday night?
Yep. I think there
Wild.
was 174 green flag laps and 100 caution laps.
I feel like we have to change our strategy when we're betting these short tracks.
Yeah, especially in trucks, like you're gonna have to be okay with not having like I don't know. Do you bet the pole winner and just only have that until late in stage 3 when you're just trying
Right.
to find somebody's in second or third? Maybe have a
Right.
shot
That's kind of where I'm
because you
at
know
for
there's gonna be
trucks.
that late caution.
Yeah. That's where I'm at for trucks. Basically, just bet the guy on the pole probably, and then wait until you're in stage 3 to make maybe one final bet. I don't know how to treat the volatility in Xfinity because it's so wild that it's almost too much. Unless
Well,
you,
it's even
unless
like when we make the right call, we get screwed, like the Sam Mayer thing.
we were running 1, 2, 3 on the final lap of the final turn on Saturday, and it didn't even matter.
Oh,
Well, for me. But I mean, it's just crazy. I don't know what else we could do than running 1, 2, 3 on the final turn of the final lap. If that's not good enough, we're in trouble. We are in
yeah.
trouble.
Yeah, I mean, where do we gotta draw the line? How many people up front do you need? You gotta have the first 4 rows now?
It's crazy, man. And it's just not fun when you're hemorrhaging money and everybody that follows you is hemorrhaging money. It sucks, man. It sucks. I'm not used to losing like that.
Especially we had such a great run coming in. The mojo was high, the vibes were high, and
Yeah,
then
we
we
had
just got freaking
six
demolished.
races in a row. And then God was like, "Oh yeah, 6? All right. Let's work on the
It
other end of that."
it was the Kyle Larson weekend that started the downfall.
Brutal. All right. We're at Darlington, Lady in Black. The track too tough to tame. Intermediate track, about 1.4 miles, little less than your normal mile and a half track. High tire wear track. What's your overall thoughts on just the track and how you would rate the manufacturers this week?
So the track itself is about as comparable to Homestead, or I guess Homestead is comparable to this as anything, but probably not a direct.
Right.
They do have that one big bump, and I can't remember if it's coming out turn 2 or turn 3. If you remember, there's that bump where some cars they were having issues with it, and when they first got the next gen car and the new tire, they kept hitting that bump, and guys would spin out, especially during qualifying. Guys could not control that whatever that big bump is out there. Um, but in terms of manufacturers, I went back and looking at fast laps and laps led and some correlation and stuff there. The one thing that stands out, man, Toyota in the spring, very, very fast here. Um, the other thing I think that I would note is this race the last couple of years has been ran in May. We are running it in April this year. Now, I haven't went back and looked at any of the temp difference. I don't know how much you're actually going to see. But also keep in mind there is rain in the forecast late on Sunday. I'm not sure what I'm not sure what the forecast actually looks. It's only Tuesday. Just have to keep an eye on it. But I think there's some late afternoon rain in the forecast. But if it's going to be overcast, obviously shade on the track means more grip. So maybe those guys that run that high line very well, the Reddicks of the world, the Larsons of the world, maybe they lose a little bit of that run in the wall grip that it gets in the sun or when the shade hits it from the wall. So I don't know, that's kind of where I'm at. Where are you at?
Yeah, I agree. We were at Homestead a couple weeks ago. That Darlington was basically the closest comp we use. I think the reverse of that is about the same for sure. I would probably rank them. I would definitely rank Ford last. I think differentiating between Chevy and Toyota this week is tough. I did see that Toyota ran better in the spring. Chevy's pretty good in the spring too, though. I mean, Kyle Larson is fast, period. So is Byron. But yeah, I don't think there's I don't even think
But
that.
outside of the HMS guys, outside of Byron and Larson, right? Don't you think that you would give more edge to the Toyota guys in the numbers, right? Say you went out 5 people for each manufacturer.
Yeah,
Wouldn't you give the edge to Toyota?
yeah, because there are probably legitimately Denny could win this race, Reddick could win this race, Bell could win this race, Briscoe could win this race. I don't think Bubba could win this race, but he could run around in the top 10 all day. Yeah, I don't disagree. I think that there are more quality Toyotas, but I do expect a couple Chevys to be very, very good. And I'll be honest with you, man, I would not be high on Ford at all this week if it wasn't for the fact of how good they've looked on intermediates so far this year. Like Ryan Blaney's been the fastest guy on the track, I think it's fair to say, on 1.5-mile tracks this year. When you look at what he did in terms of speed at Darlington the last 2 years, it hasn't been great. It's been okay. It's been good, but not great.
He ran into a lot of issues here too. I think the fall he got collected with Truex like 5 laps into the race or something, super early.
I just think you have to respect what we've seen so far this year out of him. He's fast, man. Real fast. And I don't know what's going to happen in a couple weeks for him not to show up with speed again on another intermediate. And I kind of feel the same way about Josh Berry. Like he was really good on those on a couple intermediate tracks. I don't know what's going to happen in a couple weeks for him not to be fast again. So
yeah, I'm a big Barry fan this week.
Yeah.
He was good here in the spring too. I mean, I think he drove his way into the top 5 and like legit drove his way in. He was passing cars.
He had top 4 speed here in the fall at Darlington too last year. And he was
that car is much better this year than it was last year.
Well, last year he was in the 4, wasn't he? He was running. Yeah, now he's running for Wood. But yeah, I don't disagree. Yeah. And yeah, I don't disagree. I'm high on John and like Keselowski, right? And Buescher. Just talking about Ford in general. Have been good here. But they're so bad this year, man. They just look nothing like the second half of last year. I don't know what's going to happen to them in a couple weeks just to auto show up. Like Keselowski was the second fastest guy on the track in the spring. last year.
He won the spring race, right?
That I don't know, but I do know 6 people have won the last 6 races. So
Yeah, he won in the spring. And he was up there all day. I watched the spring race back. He was up there all day. He was running 1-2 all day.
and like Buescher had top 4 speed at the first race in Darlington last year, and top 11 speed the second race. So like, and if you look at where RFK was priced in the top Ford market this week, it's the highest they've been, and I think the shortest odds they've been all year long. But how do you square that with what we've seen them do on every racetrack we've been to so far this year? They're not carrying any kind of speed like they carried in the second half of last year. So I don't know what to make of. I think the 2 biggest question marks for me this week are Brad Keselowski and Chris Buescher. I don't know what to make of RFK. But like, there are some Fords I like this week. Do I think they can contend with a couple Chevys and Toyotas? I'm not sure about that outside of Ryan Blaney. But I don't know. Where are you at with RFK this week?
I just there's nothing in my body that will let me click a Brad Keselowski anything. I just have to see it. He has not. His best finish this year was Vegas. He finished 11th, but he hasn't even qualified inside the top 20 this year. The car has no speed.
And I know
does
that
he just
Buescher,
randomly show up here?
I don't disagree with you. I don't. I lean towards. You have to lean towards no, right?
Yeah.
You have to go off the intermediate tracks that we've been to so far this year, and everything on those tracks say he's dead in the water. What did he do at Homestead this year?
26. Started 32nd, finished 26th. His only good race was Vegas. He started 27th, finished 11th.
And what did Buescher was top 11 in speed at Homestead this year. Where did he finish?
Give me a second. Buescher, you said?
Yeah.
At Homestead, he finished 6th. Started 11th, finished 6th.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, Phoenix, he finished 5th. Las Vegas, he finished 13th. Homestead, he finished 6th.
Yeah, so I guess
you
I
can
would
make the argument pretty easy that Keselowski's been the worst of the RFK guys, and that's including Preece.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, Ryan Preece has been quietly showing up. I think he's been the top 4
He finished
twice.
6th. Yeah, he finished 6th last week at Martinsville.
Yeah, and he already beat us by 1 spot earlier in the year for top Ford?
Yeah, I think so. He was like a 20-something to 1. The guy fucking buried us. I mean, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's why I just can't pick. I can't pick Keselowski to anything. No, nothing.
The one thing I will say, though, is Ryan Preece has not been good at Darlington or Homestead, though.
Where do you rank Keselowski with tire management next to the elite guys?
He's good. He's real good. I mean, like, if you look at like what he's done at Darlington in the past on the old car, I mean, he's real good. But I don't know, man.
You got to play it. To me, you just got to play it after P&Q, right?
Yeah,
I got to see his practice speeds.
Yep, you can't trust them. But yeah, I would definitely rank Ford 3rd in terms of manufacturers. I think it's real tough who's 1 and 2. I guess I'll go with your take. There are more quality Toyotas than Chevys, I think. Like, you can count on Larson and Byron. You could probably count on Chastain. Maybe. But outside of that, maybe Elliott. You could probably count on Elliott to have a decent showing too. But outside of that, I don't know. But there are 4 to 5 legitimate Toyotas that could win the race, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that's kind of what I boiled it down to.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. All right, let's pull up the odds. I'm gonna
I
look
know
at
it's not
fan.
the props market, but what's the drop dead number you have to be interested in Keselowski in the top four?
Well, I could tell you because I already looked at the numbers, and I can't bet him at 850 years or whatever he was. I think Caesars had the best number that I saw on him.
Yeah, it was 950 earlier. I would rather bet Barry at 850
Yeah, well,
than Kes at
here's the
950.
thing. Here's the thing. I made a bet today, right?
Mhm.
It was between Josh Berry. Do I bet him to hit the top 10 and try to get a win under my belt? Or do I bet him to be the top forward at plus 850? And I mean, Ryan Blaney could definitely be the top forward. I think Busher could be the top forward. It's hard to count out Ryan Preece. He's done it twice already this year. If Brad shows up, it could happen. I mean,
Mhm.
I could see a lot of people being the top forward, which is why I ended up going with the top 10 for Berry at a much worse price.
That's a great number though.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for that market, and no one the markets that are open for me don't have that price. I'll just say that. Not
Yeah.
close.
I saw Caesars had minus 110, and I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Time. Yeah. So I hit the button at plus 160. But
DK and FanDuel will be interesting to see what they open at, but we could talk about the props on Thursday.
I do like Barry. Just for the record, I do like Barry a lot in the top forward market. And I think if I was going to bet two people, I'd probably bet Barry and Busher. And maybe just a sprink on Ryan Preece in case he buries me for the third time in 8 weeks. But
Then you know how the story goes. Blaney
yeah,
shows up for Blaney and finishes
Ryan
the race.
Blaine. Yeah, Ryan Blaney finally finishes a race, and I'm dead. Yeah, I know how the story goes, Meyer. I know how it goes. All right, Kyle Larson 5-1. Your odds-on favorite. I mean, I don't think there's anybody that's got a better shot to win the race this weekend than Kyle Larson. Nobody rides the wall better than Kyle Larson. You will carry the most speed at Darlington around that wall if you can hug it and avoid damage, and nobody does it better than him. So I completely understand why he's the odds-on favorite. Totally agree with it. I think if you're going to bet the outright market, it's almost impossible not to be on him. So I'm not sure how I'm going to approach the outright market this week after the last 2 weeks, but yeah, you have to take him very seriously. He's won here. He's finished in the top 5. How many out of the last 6? 2. 2 of the last 6. But he's
He's
led,
checkers or records here, it feels like.
he's led laps in 5 of 6 races in the next gen era.
Mm-hmm. And he put the
260.
field to bed in the fall.
Yeah, 263 laps. He's led 60 here. He's led 55, 156. So yeah, I just it's impossible not to be on him if you're going to be betting the outright market. I assume that's where you're at too.
Yeah, he hasn't finished a stage outside of fifth.
And
Outside of like race that he got knocked out. But
4 races.
yeah. Yeah. He's just it's gonna make you nervous all day when he runs the wall. And he's gonna touch the wall a couple of times. You just hope that he can keep the car together and don't cut a tire.
Yep.
Because he
100.
was good last year in the old Kellogg's throwback, and he decided to clip the wall and screw his day up too. So if he stays clean and he runs that Kyle Larson line, it's going to be very tough to beat.
Yeah, I agree. After him, Tyler Reddick plus 650. Again, probably the second best guy in the sport that carries speed around the wall. He's won here before. Oh, no, actually, he hasn't won here before, but he's finished second twice in the last 6 races. And he's led about 265 laps the last 3 races combined. He's going to be a problem for sure. So, again, he's definitely one of the Toyotas that I have interest in. Very hard not to be on him this week.
Yeah, he led 174 and set 75 of the fastest laps in the spring race. He was lights out fast. And he actually has the best average starting position here of anybody in the next gen car. I think his average starting position here is like just outside of 6th place.
No worse than
Like he
10.
he qualifies up front, runs up front. Like the only thing is like I'm trying to remember back to Homestead. Was he just not fast at Homestead? Because Bubba was.
That was the week before last, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he looked like he had a top 10 car, but he didn't look like last year on intermediates. Tyler Reddick was like a top 2 or 3 car, and he didn't have that kind of speed. It didn't look like, but he had a top 10 car in terms of speed. Pretty sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, check that.
So Tyler Reddick's starting position has been 9th, 3rd, pole, and 6th. I mean, he's just lights out. I was gonna look to see when the groups went to see what group he was going to be qualifying in, but yeah, I would assume he's going to qualify up front and run up front.
His average speed rank at Homestead was was basically like 8th. So he had top 8 speed at Homestead a couple weeks ago.
Where did Bubba rank?
5th.
Okay.
23XI has been good, man, especially Bubba.
Right. And that's kind of where I'm at. Like Reddick, I think he's going to be super strong. I don't think the books are kind of weird with him all over. Some places his line's been jumping around at some shops, but yeah, I think he deserves that second favorite. And
there are only 4 cars that have a better average finish since 2022 than Bubba at Darlington. That's pretty good, man.
Mm-hmm.
That is pretty.
I mean, we're on the outright show. I did bet Bubba
to win the race.
Yeah.
God, it's just so hard to see him beating all those guys.
Yeah, and I thought the number was fair. I was holding out for a 20, and I thought I got a 20-1. So I just felt like at 20-1, it was worth a click. Considering how fast he was at Homestead, and I think he's going to carry some speed here. He's put it in second here. I think he started second here. You know, if you look at the pits or the 4-tire average pit stops, he's got the second best crew going right now behind Larson.
Bubba started in the front row on this race 2 of the last 4.
Right. And when you look at how good his pit crew has been and going through some win the race data, they have him as the second fastest car on an intermediate this year, average in the intermediate package. It's not a big gap between him and like who you'd expect to be there, but I mean, he's fast.
Yeah.
Things are clicking for Bubba.
He's definitely fast. He's finished here.
So I thought at 20 felt like a click.
I mean, I get it. I guess I get it. He's getting better at managing tires. He's finished in the top 10 for the last 5. It's just so hard to see somebody like him get over the hump and like be Kyle Larson or
Darlington. Yeah, you might need some help.
But I think you can count on him being one of the cars to be there to take advantage of picking up the pieces should something happen. So for
Well,
that
think about
reason,
with his starting positions and how important is stall 1. If he puts it on the pole, that first pit stall. I mean, those pit stops are crucial here. There's some late race chaos.
yeah, I get it. The number's fair based on the speed he's shown this year, and based on how good he's been here lately. 20-1 makes sense. I get it.
Yeah, like would you rate him ahead of Chase Elliott here?
No, just because I just don't think he's as good of a driver. But I mean, does his car have more speed right now on mile and a halfs? Probably, based on what we've seen so far this year.
That's kind of the bucket that they're playing with in the books or at the books right now. Is that 16-ish, 16-1-ish range.
Yeah. What I will say is that Chase was not very good at Darlington last year. In both races last year, he was outside the top 20 in speed. That's not good.
Did he show up at Homestead?
Third fastest car on the track at Homestead. But not this year.
Total speed ranking at Homestead this year was 14th.
Yeah. 2024, last year, he was the third fastest.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, but he had a couple of 21s before that. I don't know. I don't know. Just call it a hunch. But like I said, it's just more of a play at the number on Bubba. Like if he was 16-1, I wouldn't have bet him. I was kind of just waiting for that 20. See if I could get it anywhere.
Yeah. I got it. All right. After Tyler Reddick, Denny Hamlin plus 750. I mean, he was the fastest guy on the track at that fall race in Darlington. He was fast last week, and the week before last week, he got up inside the top 5 and then basically stayed there all day. So I think Denny's turning a corner. I don't know. He could be a hard fade this week.
Right. Who's better at managing tires right now than Denny Hamlin? That's the one thing I can't get off with him. Is
It's probably him and Larson right now.
Yeah, I mean, if that race goes long, like the one thing going for Denny is that he doesn't qualify well, man.
Yeah.
So do I think if he doesn't qualify well and they got to run these stages out clean and he's got to pass cars, do I think he's got the speed to pass everybody? I don't know. Maybe he just passes them on tire wear, but I don't know if I can go back-to-back weeks with Denny Hamlin.
It's just not going to surprise me if he shows up in a big way. Because I do think that the car is going in the right direction the last couple weeks for sure. He's good here historically, and he's so good at managing tires that he could definitely, I mean, especially with some strong green flag runs, he could probably pick off a lot of people on the tail end of these runs. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he's just hardly ever outside of the top 10 in speed ranks on a high tire wear track. It's just Denny. But we haven't seen that meltdown on pit road from Denny yet. I was surprised he made it through Martinsville so clean. But I just don't know.
The one thing I will say about Denny is that he's so much faster in the fall. He was the fastest guy on the track, Darlington 2 in 2024. He was the third fastest guy on the track in Darlington 2 in 2023. But in the first race, he was 17th in 2023 in speed, 10th in 2024. I don't know if that continues to translate over, but it's definitely worth noting.
Mm-hmm. And like when you look at some of the other Toyotas and how fast they have been in the spring, Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to have a Denny ticket. I think I would wait. Like, if he goes out and he qualifies well and his practice data is good, I mean, there's 750s out there. I don't think the books know what to do with him either. He's 6-1 at shops. He's 750 at other shops. There might even be an 8-1 out there these days. I don't. It looks like 750 is the highest. Like,
If,
what do you think that number goes to
I
at
think
worst?
that
550?
I think that if he goes out there and qualifies well and leads laps in stage 1, that number is going to move quickly. I think he'll be 4-1 going into stage 2. Easy. I think that you're either going to what's going to end up happening is we're going to get put in a spot like we were last week.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are some guys that they are quicker to move the number on when they know they have speed than others. He is one of those people. So I think it's going to be tough to get on him if we have to. Probably.
Well, say he qualifies
tougher
up
than
front,
most.
right? We got practice data and we get to see where he qualifies. I mean, I could be talked into getting on him in some way, shape, or form after qualifying.
He'll probably be 5. Is 750 market wide, basically?
6 is more market wide.
Then he'll be 450 or 4-1 if he qualifies.
So ESPN has 6, Bet365 has 6, DraftKings has 7, FanDuel 750, and then like MGM had 7, and the rest are 6. So yeah, average line's probably 675, 7-1.
Yeah, so I could see him being 450 going into the race if he qualifies in the top 2 rows, and the practice data looks solid. We'll have to wait and see. When is qualifying? Saturday?
Yeah.
No trucks this week, right?
No trucks this week, no.
All right. After Denny, Will Byron plus 950, Ryan Blaney plus 950. So Willie B has been good. I mean, I think he's been the second fastest guy on these high tire wear intermediates.
Mm-hmm.
But
not far off of Kyle Larson either, by the way.
But he hasn't been real good in 2025, right? Like
he had speed early.
Has he been in contention to win a race to really win a race this year? Other than I think, what did he win? Daytona? Did he win Daytona again?
Yes.
But outside of that,
he might have been the worst of the Hendrick cars at Martinsville, or maybe it was Homestead. I can't remember. One of the two. He was running he did not look great. I think it was last week he was not running well.
Yeah, last week he didn't spend a ton of time in the top 10, I don't think.
So he finished 2nd at Coda, 6th at Phoenix, 4th at Vegas, 12th at Homestead. And so the one running theme there is that he went backwards. Like Phoenix, he started on the pole, finished 6th. Las Vegas, he started 8th. Oh, sorry. Well, I actually drove forward there. Started 8th, finished 4th. Then Homestead, he started 5th, finished 12th. Only led 1 lap. And last week in Martinsville, he started 10th, finished 22nd. But I think he had a multitude of errors, or just bad luck that day. It's not great.
I mean, he's basically been top 5 on average in speed at every single Darlington race and Homestead race the last 2.5 years. That's pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you throw out Auto Club, he's been there in every single one.
But I don't know how to square that with what we've seen so far in terms of speed this year. I have not been overly impressed.
Yeah, he rates out as 4th fastest at Homestead this year.
He's normally one of the 2 guys the last couple years, especially in this next gen car, him and Larson in the beginning of the year basically own the year. But that is not the case this year. I don't know. I don't get me wrong. I think that Byron, in terms of like chances for Chevy to win the race, he's their second best shot to win the race. But I don't know if he'll have anything for Larson and some of the Toyotas based on the speed I've seen so far this year, but he could. He could show up. He's definitely not one of the better tire wear guys out of the people that we expect to have speed this week. I think that the number is fair, though. Almost 10 to 1.
I was kind of shocked to see it where it is.
Yeah, the number is fair at almost 10 to 1 on him, considering how fast he's been the last couple of years on these types of tracks. So I really can't complain with the number. And then Ryan Blaney at 950. I mean, we spoke about him. He looks like he's the fastest guy on the track right now on intermediates. So
just running in some of the worst luck.
But that number is fair.
Well, you know, that's the weird. So he's had the most movement, I think, of anybody in all week since the books actually opened. Because he opened at 12 to 1 at some shops. It got bet. Caesars dropped his number all the way down to 6 to 1. And FanDuel's, they kept raising the number. So he's actually back to plus 950 at FanDuel. So, what a wide market for him.
If you would have asked me, what do you think his odds should be this week? I would have made him 7 to 1 behind Tyler Reddick. Is probably where I would have put him. So at almost 10 to 1, I think that's fair. I think there's probably some value there. I didn't see the 12 because the last thing I could think about on a Monday after we get crushed is betting anything. But
well, I think that's what FanDuel opened it at this morning, and it's just been all over since then. I was trying to find out.
12 to 1 is kind of crazy.
He was 850 this morning. I know that there was a 12 to 1 out there earlier, and there was a 10 to 1 as well. And then they've moved, but they started to float back up. Like it's weird to see the number on Ryan Blaney go up here when Caesars had it so low.
But then again, the guy hasn't finished 3 of the last 4 races. Like, you got to look at it from that perspective too.
Yeah, and I think 2 engine failures in there,
which is concerning.
Right.
I don't know why.
He was the thing about even at Martinsville when he looked like he just had the stone nuts in the long run, and then he just qualified terribly, and he just really couldn't overcome that if he didn't have that pit strategy. So, but again, it's we were just waiting to get a good number on him because he once you knew he was getting up there, but he didn't pass anybody. I don't think he ever drove higher than that 5th. I don't think he passed anybody.
I think there's value in that number for sure because he's carrying speed right now on intermediates, a lot of speed, and this is a good track for him in general. So
yeah, the way that car's got speed to start the year, I mean, you're never going to be mad about having a 10 to 1 ticket on Ryan Blaney going into a race.
Yeah,
he's had some shit luck here too. I mean, he's DNF'd both. Well, he DNF'd and then he had a DVP last year, both times at Darlington.
After Ryan Blaney, Chase Briscoe's 12 to 1. I know you can get 15 to 1 at DK. I'm just looking at FanDuel. My problem with Chase Briscoe right now is not that he's not live to win the race. I just don't like the numbers. He still hasn't done enough this year to not be a 20 to 1 guy. I don't care if he's in Marty's car or not in Marty's car. You got to prove it out there. And his results, I don't think are warranting being as low as 12-1, being right behind Ryan Blaney. I mean, you're
Well, how
telling
much
me
do you
that
think they're factoring in the win here?
probably some, but you're telling me that he should be the same odds as Chris Bell, a guy
No, and
that
that's where
won.
like it's getting a little, like you said.
Yeah,
I
it's
think it's a
getting
little,
crazy.
yeah.
Like, don't get
Now
me
you look
wrong,
at the speed rank. The
right?
fall race here, he was third, and at
And
Homestead this year, he was sixth.
right, right. So he does have speed. He can manage tires. I just think that number is short. I think he should be a 20-1 guy right now until he starts really proving it out there. 12-1 is short. Even 15-1. I don't know if that's the best available number, but I saw that DK had 15.
Yeah, 15 as far as the numbers that I've input, that's the best out there right now.
He could win. He's definitely one of the Toyotas that if he shows up with the right setup, he could get it done. But I just don't like the price.
Yeah, I think like along with what you were saying earlier, like should he be $7 better than Ross Chastain here?
Right. Although, I mean, like Ross, I don't know. Ross had he was a lot better in Darlington at the beginning of the next gen era than right now. But I don't really disagree. $7 is a lot.
Yeah, I couldn't click it pre-race. I'd have to know he's starting up there and still make him drive around up front, show speed during the race.
Chris Bell 12-1. I think Chris Bell could win. But he's been hit or miss in terms of speed when you look at what he's done at Darlington and Homestead the last couple of years.
And I was trying to remember back, didn't he have issues at Homestead this year? Because his car was obviously what his car was early in the year, right? Like he had the fluke win at Atlanta, those types of races as well. But I'm trying to remember back, did something happen to him? Because I don't think he was really a contender at any point in that race.
He
I
was
think he had
outside
an issue.
he was outside the top 20 in speed, I know.
I'd have to go back and look, but I thought he had issues in that Homestead race. I don't know if we can necessarily just say he was slow. I think he might have had an issue. I think he might have got around, might have like cut a tire and had to come down pit road at some point in time. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look, but
I mean, he was so good on intermediates in general last year. I fear him. I don't know if I'm going to have a ticket in my pocket on him. Although I don't know how much worse his odds could be than some of the guys in front of him. Like I would probably give him the same amount of chance to win this race as Will Byron. So I think that the number on Chris Bell, there's probably some value on it, especially considering how fast he is week to week in general. But how many guys are you going to
he did
bet?
have he did have like a stretch where he was not great in Darlington, right? Did he have a 14th, the 23rd, and the 13th in there?
Yeah, that's what I mean. He's like hit or miss.
Right. And then it was like, 2022, he was sixth and fifth. And then last year in the fall, now again, fall race being playoff races, you got to wonder how many guys outside of those playoff guys are really pushing.
True.
Those playoff guys tend to, get a little more leniency on the track. So, I mean,
Yep.
is the third just because he was a playoff driver. I don't know, but like those spring races haven't really correlated well for him.
I think he's one of the better guys, especially one of the better young kids at managing tires for sure. I just don't know if he's going to show up with that race winning speed though. But I do think the number is fair based
And
on
like he can
everything.
show up and put it on the pole anywhere.
Right.
He thought he had a terrible qualifying lap at Martinsville and he put it on the pole. So
Right.
I mean, would he shock you if he's sitting P1 going into Sunday? No.
Like he's 12-1 right now at FanDuel, and Bubba's 14-1. Get out of my face. Like right there, that tells you everything you need to know on is there value on Chris Bell right now. There is, I think. But there's got to be, forget about the volatility. Just in terms of speed, there's a half dozen guys easy that could win this race if they show up with speed that we've seen them be capable of having. I don't know. Where are you at on Bell?
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. It's like it's a little shocking to see 12-1 on a guy that 2 weeks ago we were talking about maybe the second best driver in the sport, right?
Yeah.
Like he's good at all tracks. I don't know if his recent run has been truly in a true indicator of his speed and what form that car's in, but 12-1 feels a little light. I agree with you. I think it should not be the double digit range. It should be that 959-ish range. I mean, if he goes out there and practices well and puts it on the pole, like that number could go to 7-1, 650, and you
100%.
wouldn't even you would not be shocked one bit.
No, you wouldn't even blink.
Right. So it's kind of weird to see his number where it is across the books, but it's like you said, how many guys do you want to have free flop going in to Darlington?
Right. I don't even know the answer to that yet. But I would say of all the guys that we talked about, you can make the argument to put him in front of Briscoe and Denny.
I mean, if you're talking about value, like if you're just betting straight per the number, like he's got to be like your second favorite outside of, well, maybe third. Like obviously you're not running like Larson at 5 totally makes sense, but then it's like Reddick. Would you rather have a Reddick at 650 or the Bell at 12 if you had to pick one?
It's so tough because Reddick's better here, but that number is twice his number, and Bell could show up with speed, and Reddick could be chasing him all day, and it wouldn't shock me, you know?
Yeah, it would shock you if Bubba had the better 23XI car and Reddick did what he did at Homestead, kind of ran around in the top 10.
For sure. We've seen that already this year. All right. After Bell, Bubba, are there any 20? Is that 20-1 gone?
I bet it at Circa. Somebody did say in the Discord that it's 20-1 at Bally or BR if you still have connections there.
Yeah, at 20-1, I don't mind it. At 14-1, I don't like it.
Yeah, I said I wouldn't even bet it at the 16. The 20 was where it was kind of my go zone for that. And Caesars opened it there. And then they immediately moved it to 16 and everybody else just kind of opened at that same number.
The one thing I feel comfortable saying is that there should only be a handful of cars that have more speed than Bubba Wallace. As long as they don't change anything and they show up with what they've been showing up with the last few weeks. I mean, what have there been? 5, 6 cars, maybe on the track that have been faster than him? Maybe. So I get it.
Yeah, And I'd say I don't know all the ingredients that goes into the pot over there, the win the race numbers, but they do have him as the second fastest adjusted speed rank in the intermediate package this year. You mix that with how good his pit crew has been this year. I mean,
Who does?
win the race.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Make sure you guys check out Ryan and Greg and everything they do over at wintherace.info. Friends of the program.
Yeah, that
And
4-tire pit stop score is great to have.
also, hit the like button. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not a member. And you guys could use the promo code NASCAR is back for a 1-week free trial at nukethehouse.com. Do it, please. All right. After Bubba, Chase Elliott, 17-1. I don't really have interest in Chase because
Nope.
we haven't seen speed in the intermediate package this year from him, really. So feels like a guy that's probably going to run around in the top 10 all day and probably never threaten for a win unless he has a great pit stop, gets out front, and can hold it somehow. But outside of that, I don't know. He wouldn't be in my top 6 or 7 this week.
Completely agree.
Joey Logano, 19-1. So Joey has the second best average finish at 10.7 in the next gen era. One here.
A little skewed. It's a little skewed because of the 2022 season.
What happened? Oh, weren't there extra? Was that the COVID year where there were extra races? Wasn't there a year where we had like 3 races at Darlington? Oh, that was 2020.
But in the next gen car, so in 2022 he won and then he finished 4th, and then he had like that Bell era where he was just mediocre here.
Right.
And then again in the fall, when the Fords were the Fords in the playoff races, he come and finished 8th.
I'll tell you why I don't like Joey this week. Because I think this year so far, you can make the case that he's been the worst Penske car on intermediates. Doesn't it feel like Austin Cindric has probably driven around more in the top 10 on intermediates this year than Logano has?
Yeah. Logano's been like quietly good, but like not great. And like the Cindric car had a lot of speed to start the year, but then like he got himself into problems as well. But like looking at this season so far for Joey, I'm throwing out the super speedways and I'll throw out Coda. He's 13th at Phoenix, 15th at Vegas, 14th at Homestead. So he's just kind of just settled in outside the top 10 in these so far.
Yeah, that's not going to cut it this week.
But his Q speed has been great. I mean, he was 2nd at Phoenix, 2nd at Vegas, and 7th at Martinsville, and the 12th at Homestead. So I mean, looks like he kind of just runs around in that 10 to 15 range. These last handful of races.
Yeah,
I think I'd be a little shocked if he had race winning speed here.
agree. After Joey Chastain 22-1, I'd like him a lot more if this race was happening in 2022.
He's not the same, Ross.
No, I really don't have any interest.
Yep, same.
After Chastain, Buescher 26-1. God, Roush is like the bane of my existence. I don't know, man. Like,
Would you put him ahead of Chastain on
yes,
your driver to watch?
yes, for sure. I don't know if he would have anything for a Larson, a Reddick, a Blaney, a Byron. but it would not shock me if he finishes this race like in the top 5.
Finished 5th at Phoenix, 13th at Vegas, and 6th at Homestead, and he's qualifying just outside the top 10.
And you notice that he's always getting better, Meyer. He doesn't it always seem like his car is at its best at the end of the race? Always.
He's a quiet guy that moves forward, right? You're not watching him because you don't think he can win the race, but then when you look up, he's just running like an 8th, 7th.
Yeah, like it's very hard to think anybody from Roush has race winning speed right now. But
agreed.
Like what? Out of curiosity, what's Buescher to hit the top 10? Plus 130. Feels a little light. Plus 150, I would probably take a shot.
Yeah, I mean, if you throw out the spring race, I don't know what happened to him. He finished 30th, but he finished 3rd in the fall of 2023 and 6th in the fall of 2024. Is it because Fords are just different animals in the playoffs? Not that he was a playoff driver, but he was. But I don't think by that race he was probably still making the cut. But
I just want to ask, like the head mechanic or engineer at Roush, what happened from the midway point of last year to the end of the season? And then what happened when you guys started this year? Because we're going 2 very different miles per hour. So what are we doing, man? They were so good the second half of last year. It's literally breaking my brain why these cars aren't flying around the track. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I have any interest in Buescher to win the race. Could I see us getting on him if he's coming late? Maybe. Maybe Buescher in the props market though, for sure.
Yeah, he feels like a positional guy, maybe a groups guy.
Yeah,
somewhere in there.
Good old Kyle Busch, 26-1. Where are you at on him?
I can't bet Kyle Busch. I just can't. I mean, his last 3 races: 33rd at Vegas, 21st at Homestead, 17th at Martinsville. I just can't. I can't back the guy.
You don't like that top 34 speed at Homestead this year, Mar? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, I think that's what I'm telling you. I mean, Austin Dillon might have ran more laps in the top 10 than him.
You could definitely be right. I agree.
He showed up at Coda, but that's about it.
Yep. I don't think he can contend for the win. Kyle Busch is a pass. Keselowski, 30-1. Keep it. Alex Bowman, 31-1. Alex Bowman is like interesting because he was top 2 in speed at Homestead this year. He was this. No, that's it. Yeah. So he was really, he's not historically, he hasn't been great at Darlington in terms of speed in the next gen era. But I think it's safe to say that Alex Bowman is faster than you and I would have thought to start the year, for sure. And he was really fast at Homestead. So I don't know what to make of Alex Bowman this week, if I'm being honest. He's one of those guys that could surprise and show up.
Yeah, I think that he just got the yips knowing that Larson was the one that was running him down at the end of Homestead, because we bet him live.
That's what we're going with, the yips.
Well, I mean, you got the best guy coming behind you. You know, and you're trying to hold him off. I think it just makes you drive different knowing you got Kyle Larson running you down for 15 laps or whatever that run was.
With a guy that's been saving his tires while you're fighting for your life with Chase Briscoe.
You're bouncing it in the wall. You're trying to run different lines.
You're fighting for your life.
Yeah. So he had a great car at Homestead, and you could probably make the argument he's been one of the most best. He's been one of the most consistent finishers in the sport this year. I mean, he's just like Hendrick has 4 drivers in the top 5 of the standings right now. He finished 9th at Coda, 7th at Phoenix, 7th at Vegas, 2nd at Homestead.
He's been a wagon.
Martinsville.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
You can make the argument he's been better than Byron. He's the second best Hendrick guy on the track right now.
He put it on the pole at Homestead, finished 2nd.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, I just think that people discount him because everybody considers him the 4th best driver at Hendrick.
Which he is, I think.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that, but that factors into when you see him at 30-1, no matter how his recent form has been.
Yeah, he's one of the I kind of, even to a higher extent, kind of how I feel about Chris Buescher. Maybe he could be a wild card. Maybe he could show up. I feel even more stronger about that with Alex Bowman, and he's worse odds. And I think the only reason why he's worse odds is just because it hasn't been great at Darlington in general. But man, he's got speed. He's got speed right now.
And he seemed to do okay at managing his tires at Homestead. Now, obviously, Kyle Larson was just on a different planet. But
yeah, he's one of the guys that I think could show up and surprise. Another guy that I think can show up and surprise, Josh Berry, 35-1. Big Josh Berry guy this week. He's just, I know we haven't run a ton of intermediates so far this year, but of the intermediates that we have run, you can't find 5 faster cars on the track than Josh Berry. And he's a good tire wear guy. He had top 4 speed at Darlington in the fall. This Wood 21 is so much faster than what he was running at SHR that, yeah, I mean, I don't know if he could win the race, but would it shock me if Josh Berry ran around in the top 5 all day based on what we've seen so far this year? 100% no. So I like Berry. I'm going to try to attack him in the props market. And I want nothing more, Meyer, than for this guy to be 20-1, looking like he's got a chance to win the race on Sunday, where we can actually get on him and maybe cash a ticket. So, yeah, I like Berry. Not sure if he could win the race, but I expect him to definitely be top 8 in speed. I'll say that.
Yeah, so I text Yeg, I think on Monday, and said there's 2 guys that interest me that the numbers will be interesting on, and it was Bubba and Barry. And then when I started to look at some of the opening numbers on Barry, I was like, we're getting no discounts on Josh Berry anymore.
No.
And then the numbers started to move a little further back, because I think, like, MGM, you know what MGM opened Josh Berry at? First book to open this week. They opened Josh Berry at 18-1. That's why.
Well, that's absurd, right?
Right, and that's why I was like, okay, well, the books they know what we know now.
The number that he is right now at FanDuel is true fair odds for what his chances are to win the race.
But MGM opening at 18-1, and them being the first book to open, I was like, okay, we're kind of cooked with the Berry market, because, like you said, and he made up all his passing in the spring race last year in the long run. His car was very good in the long run. And if you look at like how he's ran this year, he started 4th, finished 4th at Phoenix, started 7th, finished with the win at Vegas. Now that one, I think we both can agree that wasn't a win for him. I mean, it shows up.
Yeah, total malarkey. He luck boxed to win, but that's fine. Sometimes you got to pick up the pieces.
Right. And then he started second at Homestead. So the car's just fast. And if he's going to continue to carry that kind of speed and be able to manage these tires, there's no reason that he can't run, like you said, up in the top 5 all day long.
Yeah.
And like maybe it's a ladder scenario where we bet his top 10, top 5, and then we see what we can see during the race and hopefully get him at a fair number if he's continuously going to run up there. But
What's his top 5? Could we get 6-1, 7-1?
5-1 right now at 365. I think DK and FanDuel will open up with the best odds because they're longer on him than anybody else right now at 35-1. So waiting to see what they open their positions up at. But 5-1 to top 5.
So I've already bet Josh Berry prop. Probably bet 1 or 2 more, maybe, depending if we could find something. And then we'll play it by ear in terms of winning the race. After Berry, Austin Cindric, and Eric Jones at 50-1. I have no interest in Austin Cindric, and I know Eric Jones actually has a win here at Darlington. I don't remember how it happened.
Kind of an outlier track for him, where he does decent, but I don't think he's going to have any shot to win this race. I mean,
define decent. Like his only top 5 was his win, right?
yeah, he had a 10th place last year in the fall, but yeah, I'm not. There's
2
really
years.
nobody after this range at like Josh Berry that I think has a shot to even sniff a win.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I guess the only 2 people I would mention after Eric Jones is Ryan Preece has just been sneaky good this year at finding a way to finish really well. I'd be interested to see what some of his props are when we get to Thursday. And Carson Hocevar, I have to check to see how good he actually is at Darlington, but another guy driving around in a Hendrick motor for Spire that has been very, very good to start the year on intermediates. So I don't know what that really means for him here at Darlington, considering he's finished 33rd, 26th, and 17th.
Yeah.
But he did start on the front row in the fall last year.
Didn't Justin Haley start up there too? Didn't the other Spire guys?
I don't know, but he got into an accident.
I want to go look at the 24 race because I think that both those cars were up front. But like with him, like I don't know how I feel about him in tire wear, and he always seems to get caught up in some kind of a mess. Like I'd rather bet him later and eliminate half the race than try to bet him before I see it.
Yeah.
I swore that he was running, that they started up on the front row. I could be wrong.
But outside of that, I don't really, to be honest, once you get to Josh Berry, I think he's probably the last legitimate guy that if it all broke right for him, could win this race based on speed. Outside of that, there isn't really anybody worth talking to. It's bombs away guys that are going to finish at the back of the pack.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that we made a case for the guys that we have interest in, but these guys in the back.
If you were going to give your top 5 favorites in no particular order, what would they be? Mine would be Larson, Reddick, Blaney, Byron, and I'm going to go with Josh Berry as a flyer at 35-1.
I am going to go Larson and Reddick, and then I think I'm going to go
Denny Words.
Blaney, Bell, and Bubba.
Blaney, Bell, and Bubba. Okay.
I can't do Denny out of spite because he just absolutely buried me. And I'm holding his under 3.5 wins ticket. I don't like to sweat the rest of the season now. He's got one.
You think Bell and Bubba have a better shot to come with more speed than Byron?
Yeah. Unfortunately, like Bell seems more like I would almost swap Bell and Byron because Byron has just had speed week in and week out. But I mean, I think Bell shows up here. I don't see a lot of talk about him this week, but I do think Bubba's going to show up with speed for sure.
Yeah. And there's still a couple cars we didn't mention, like Briscoe could show up, Denny could show up. I mean,
Denny's going to show up, right? I mean, you're going to sweat Denny all day. Like, it's the same thing.
Maybe because when were we saying that before the last 2 weeks? I mean, the guy's been on a milk carton.
Right. We didn't hesitate to run him through the dirt, but he shows up, and now it's back to, is this Denny? You think how many years do you think Denny has left? 2?
He's my age. He's 44.
44.
I cannot see him doing this past. Yeah, maybe next year is his last year. Maybe the year after that. He's not going.
He's really running out of opportunities to get that championship under his belt.
He's going to own this team for a long time. Like he's going to be there every week, not going anywhere. But I mean, how much longer could he go? What's he going to be? 48? Right. He's going to be 48 years old trying to get a chip.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, how much longer are they going to let him continue to run? It's not like he's running. Like, it's not like he's bad at all.
Bro,
right?
He could drive the car with one arm better than half the field could drive with two. He probably could keep doing this for 5 more years.
He's going to always be in tip-top equipment.
Right. Just like Marty could have, really, if he wanted to. But I guess we'll find out, Meyer. All right, boys.
How long do you want to drag it out for?
We're out of here. Thursday night, we'll be back with the NASCAR prop show. I forgot to announce this at the beginning of the show, but if you saw on Twitter, Holden and I and Davey, who is a Sirius XM NASCAR producer, are going to start a Sunday NASCAR betting show on NASCAR Radio on Sirius XM. We're pumped. Sunday morning will be the first show for Darlington. Looking forward to it. Hopefully we can give out some winners, which is the goal, and have some fun along the way. So if you guys have Sirius XM, be sure to check out that. And don't forget, hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, use the code NASCAR is back for a 1-week free trial. And we'll see you back here on Thursday to go over the props market. For Meyer, I'm Keg. We're out. Later.